Well, good evening. This is JBoy1878, and we're going to be looking at court cases around the UK that have called my attention. First one up, we're going to be talking about Rawden Ibbitson has been jailed for murder. A sadistic and obsessed Leeds man who bit off part of a woman's face has been jailed for her murder. Rawden Ibbitson, 32, had previously pleaded guilty to the murder and assault by penetration of the woman, who at this stage we cannot name because the order from the judge that Leeds Live is going to challenge. Ibbitson was handed a life sentence with a minimum term of 29 years. Leeds Crown Court heard how Ibbitson had become fixated on the woman before her mother on June 6th last year. Prosecutor Michelle Colburn, KC, told the court the woman had told a friend that Ibbitson was a different person when sober and when drinking and smoking weed. Ibbitson referred to himself to the psychiatric services in January 2022 after telling staff he had taken an overdose. On January the 5th, he sent the woman a text saying, "I can't black out my feelings about you, and it's hard for me not to come over and see you." She replied saying that she was willing to be Ibbitson's friend but couldn't cope with anything else. The court was told Ibbitson had previously expressed homicidal ideation, and in January 2022, after calling the emergency service to report mental health issues, assaulted a police officer. This resulted in a community court order. On January the 12th, the woman again messages Ibbitson to say she would be your friend and that's all. However, Ms. Colburn said messages from Ibbitson continued. She said the prosecution says his messaging and behaviour seen by others towards her suggest he couldn't and wouldn't take rejection. By March, Ibbitson was in hospital again and she tried to stop contact with him. The woman messaged Ibbitson saying he had completely pushed me over to the edge, with Ibbitson going to threatening to pull the woman's teeth out of it with pliers. She told a friend in a text she was living a nightmare after they said they noticed him knocking on the door every 3 minutes, if that. At around midnight on June the 6th, numerous calls was made to the emergency services, including by a neighbour who said Ibbitson was screaming in the street. The court heard the woman asked him, "What have you done to her?" He was arrested to a short time later and gave no comment answer in interview. It was said the woman's body was found inside her home in cardiac arrest. She was taken to Leeds General Infirmary, where she was pronounced dead. The court heard a post-mortem examination found she had suffered 90 separate injuries, including extensive abrasions to her head, neck and body, a fractured jaw, bruising to the head with a bleed up to the brain, 13 bite marks to her face. Jesus, my God. 13 bite marks to her face, breast, abdomen, thigh and forearm. A forensic pathologist said the injuries to her forearm were consistent with defensive injuries. Judge Bayliss said, in other words, she had tried unsuccessfully to fend off the attack. Miss Colburn said Ibbitson had bitten off part of the victim's face and ear. Her lip was hanging off when she was found. She said she had also been sexually assaulted. Ibbitson was charged and pleaded guilty to murder and assault by penetration in March this year. The court was told that he had amnesia of a similar attack he had committed in 2016 against a friend. It was said the woman woke up to Ibbitson carrying her to bed and she had dropped her on a bike. She asked him to call an ambulance, but he refused. He said he'd begun to punch her and the woman threw herself out of a first floor window. He was handed a 2-year jail sentence for that. Mitigating Brenda Campbell Casey said, "We are conscious that there is very little I can say to improve the situation. He recognises he should be punished, and nothing I can say can improve the situation." The court was told Ibbitson has mixed personality disorder and had frequently sought help. The barrister said he is profoundly remorseful as he handed Ibbitson. He is profoundly remorseful as he handed Ibbitson a life sentence with a minimum term of 29 years. Judge Bayliss told the court he had read a statement from the woman's family which described her as vibrant, caring, compassionate, loving, intelligent, funny, beautiful, and worth more than the world to us. The judge said this was murder involving both sexual and sadistic conduct. I cannot accept the connection that is made on your behalf that this is a case where you intended to cause her really bodily harm rather than to kill the woman. It may not have started off as your intention, but as such your intention may easily be formed as the assault progressed. Jesus, sadistic. There can be no doubt, given the extent of her injuries, that this was a sustained attack upon a defenseless woman in her own home. It involved demonstrably sadistic and sexual violence, and is bound to have caused their mental and physical suffering. The victim's life is gone. We do not take a life for a life, although even if you are released, you will be under license, supervised for as long as you live, liable to immediately be called to prison if you do anything wrong. However, the proper punishment here will have the effect that you will not emerge from prison, even at the earliest, for a long time. That's absolutely horrendous, isn't it? And this happened in Leeds, and the story comes from Leeds Live, and it was written by Sophie Concoran, published the 28th of May 2023, and that's the guy. He's getting 29 years in prison for a sadistic attack. So thanks very much for listening, watching. This has been JBoy1878. Please like, share, and good night.